by any Jewish trend. It's definitely mostly influenced by Western civilization and our culture, and that's not something that we're like I think that's fine. You know, like sometimes we'll play around with it, like we have a dress called the Moses dress, or, you know, but we definitely follow, you know, the fashion trends of the West and read magazines and street style, and I mean our stuff is very simple. It's not very affected by what's super on trend, you know, like velvet is really in right now, and we're not going to make anything velvet because that's not our brand and that's not our taste. But yeah, I mean, I don't know anything else that would be influenced by, if not by Western trends. And does that kind of answer your question?
Yes, but can I follow it up with
sure.
One question?
You got to wait though. And can I just see who else has something that they want to add to the conversation at this point?
With the second question is, how much does the social networks play in terms of, let's say, the visual aspect? Because I don't think modest fashion is anything new, but when you put it all together in terms of what you can see visually, how much does that play as in terms of role influencing the style of modest fashion? Because when you show the pictures, you know, I'm quite sure a lot of women and they say, I like that. That's what you know. I see that. That's what I want to look like them. So, does that play a role in terms of the influence in modest fashion? Because I think modest fashion's been around for a while, but I think what I'm hearing is, I think it's the style in terms of which you're kind of like influencing here, the style, because modest fashion means, in terms of our religion, in terms of covering everything except for the face and the hands.
But so you can achieve that in many different ways.
So one of the things so dressing modestly is not hard if you're not considering, like, you know, really hot climates and stuff. It's not hard to find clothing to cover yourself. When it comes to, do you like it and feel like you're yourself and comfortable, that maybe become a little bit difficult, but to find clothing, I think that's been around forever and will continue to be possible to find something that will cover your modest, you know, needs. But when we were first designing, what we loved about our clothing and is that it happened to be modest, which means that when you first came across the clothing and you saw the picture, you didn't think modesty. You just thought, I like this dress. You thought dress, skirt, shirt, whatever it is, and it was just nice. It was a fashionable, appealing piece of clothing, and modesty was just secondary. Like, yes, it was modest, and that was a great bonus, and especially if you needed to dress modestly, then it was great. But first came the attraction to the actual clothing, as opposed to the other way around, which was, you know, narrowing out what you can't wear, taking all the modest things, and then only choosing what you like. It was first you like it, and then it happens to be modest as an additional awesome factor for those who need it. And so that was a big part of what we always work to accomplish, because it's not always easy to design a dress that is modest, that doesn't look modest when you first see it. That's just, you know, when we're making our dresses to cover our needs, so that already, if it's really like oversized clothing and big dresses, you know, Mimi's is bigger than mine today, but just like big flowing dresses, and which is not, we're allowed to wear tight clothing, it's just kind of just what we like to wear. And when you make it cover the knee and it has full sleeves and it's big, it's hard to make it also look good and trendy and appealing. And so that is where, you know, we tweak things and change things and make it, you know, when you have a dress and it ends like much higher, it just looks chicer and cuter, even if it's like really, really wide, because the proportions are just better for like aesthetically. So so that is a big challenge, and it's something that we work really hard on to make it look really good, so that you feel like yourself in it and you don't feel like modest. You're walking around all day with that kind of modesty tag on your clothing. So yeah.
So what you want people to see is the design of a
We
garment
love
that happens to fit modesty needs. And I'm just going to take you to this post, which was up recently, which I really loved, because one of the things that we've been talking about today is how do you deal with people's different interpretations of what modesty is, and also that women within the general parameters of what they consider to be their modesty interpretation, are also going to mix it up a bit on different days. And I personally, I really love this post because you said, you know, if you notice these various things about how I'm dressed, that's fine. But if the only thing you noticed was you could see my knee, then I'm sorry, but we'll have to take a rain check, aka probably not going to happen ever, hashtag awkward.
I have to read it again. Oh yeah, oh, so you can't see it fully up here, but, okay.
And that for me was the perfect illustration of that thing we were talking about earlier, which was the policing and the regulation, surveillance, and the criticism, and the judging. And that's not to say that you might wear that every day, or
Right.
that depending on where you're going,
Right.
how you're dressing. But in terms of you making your own decision about how stringently
Right.
you're going to style that dress on that day. So I really like that because you were just so forward about it.
Yes, I mean,
Did that come out of a certain frustration?
It came out of, I don't know about frustration. I was definitely trying to be playful about the fact that
People might comment.
that people might comment, and that we've definitely had it before where people kind of, you know, usually our Jewish customers who feel like we represent them, so, you know, that we have to represent them, and that we represent Judaism, which we do, and that is part of who we are, and we have to own that. But it's just, you know, we have had pictures where like just a little bit of our knee is showing, and somebody was very quick to jump in, even if it's just like this beautiful post, and I'm basically 99% covered according to the strictest of the law, where people are very quick to point out, you call yourself modest fashion, I see a little bit of your knee, you know, and it's something that we definitely connect with a lot of our Muslim followers on, because I've seen it on all your pages too, and it's just like, we gotta join forces, because it's just so nasty, and it's just so off-putting that somebody could take what we're doing, which is so beautiful and is modest, and our designs are 100% modest. We are completely open about the fact that it's a struggle and it's not easy and we're not perfect, which appeals to most people and is real for most people. But I kind of put that out there because I kind of was like, I'm going to preempt it before the comment comes in. There's so many things you can notice about this picture. You're soon to be able to buy the items I'm wearing, and if all you have to say is about the fact that my knee's showing, let me just put it out there right now. Just don't, you know?
And I think what really struck me about that, and you did take that playful tone, is in a way this is the other side of Laila's point about the tokenism, which is you do represent your brand, you do put yourself on social media, so you are the brand ambassadors, which you've chosen to do because you have a company and because you put yourself forward as designers, as emblematic of the company, and you welcome any of the opportunities that brings you. And in the same way as women whose clothing makes them visible as Muslim, and it's a different problem if your clothing doesn't make you visible when at times you want to be able to be counted. Well, you know, one young woman said, you know, it was great, I put on my hijab and I was sort of 25 and I got on the bus and somebody said to me, Asma, I can't say it. Assalamu alaikum, thank you. And I thought, great, she knows I'm Muslim, and she wouldn't have known yesterday because I wasn't covering. And at the same time, then I'm going to get policed and regulated. So it's that thing about being both taken as an ambassador or a representative for your community, for your whole religion, or for your company, and it's not always in conditions of your choosing.
Right.
So I thought that post really brought forward that sort of regulation and surveillance.
If you're somebody who's looking for role models to be perfect, we're not them. You know what I mean? And we're very upfront about that. Mushky and I notice this all the time. All the people who say, yeah, but you don't cover perfectly, which we virtually do, but anyways, where are you on Instagram and social media? Like, where are all those perfect people? Like, if that exists, like, where are they? Like, we're choosing to put ourselves out there. I think we're making, we're really personally putting ourselves out there and into what we're doing in a very real way and being very open about our struggles, which is much harder than being perfect. And it's like all these people who say, you know, that we're not doing a good job, like, so why don't you start a business and an Instagram page and put yourself out there? And, you know, like, power to you, but just don't bring your negativity and policing to us because it's just obviously not meant for you.
So, Hecht, did you want to say something?
Oh.
Oh, and actually, can we pass it to the it's behind you? I'm taking away your question.
No problem.
On the left.
Hi guys,
Hi.
Thank you so much for everything that you've been saying in this entire conversation. Since we got to the topic of role models and you know the reactions of different people, I wanted to ask how you feel what you're doing and what inspired you, and you seeing a need and trying to, give people what they want, how that may have inspired other younger people in your own community, how they may be looking at your example, what questions they ask you, what they seem to be really excited about, and how you are contributing to that, or how you want to see that play out as time goes on.
Great question. Map's the future.
So, along the lines of what Whitney was saying about people not necessarily, some people not being super thrilled with, some gray areas, there's a lot of sometimes in religion there could be a lot of black and white and a lot of, policing or people requesting that you do everything 100% or 0, and not really leaving space for, nuance and individuality in the way that you connect to your religion and the things you choose to do. It's, especially if you're part of a community, there's often a lot of pressure to be everything that the community requires or go elsewhere. I think that probably occurs in a lot of religions. It's different areas, not our community, but different communities even in Judaism. And so some people do have issue with, our certain things. They say you're not a good example for the young children, because you're not doing everything fully, you're not always covering your knee exactly, you're whatever it is that they are saying. And sometimes we have spoken to each other like, are we doing damage to the Jewish youth? Are we is this something that we should be considering? That's so not our intention, and we are looked at as, especially to young girls in our community, as role models, as somewhat celebrities, and people who they really, really admire and look up to. And it's kind of pressuresome, okay, everyone's looking to us, and then now it's we're not really filling necessarily exactly what they're looking for, and is this something that we should maybe consider that is bad or not good? And anytime we consider that even for a second, we always remember different feedback that we have, which is that there are so many people who are struggling with their religion because they don't know how to do it perfectly, and they don't know where they fit in without that. And they look to us, and we've had emails and people telling us personally that because of us, because of our imperfections and our lack of 100%, perfection, for lack of a better word, in our religion, they were able to keep certain customs, and they were able to stay with their faith, even though they weren't necessarily wanting to keep everything, or there was one thing they were struggling with, and instead of letting it all go, they realized that they can actually still be part of the community and still be at peace and still be religious and be happy, as opposed to just being okay, well, screw this, I guess I'm just not Jewish anymore, or whatever it is, because I don't know how to do this completely. I can't submit myself to this kind of life completely, so I can't do anything. And so what we found is that we have been the role models in that way of, we are role models also to people who do everything and, want to lead a completely full religious life, but also especially people who are kind of in between. And there is a lacking of that, especially in our community. You can find, if you want to be completely and totally religious in every way and follow every single custom, then your role model could be anyone from the Bible who's doing it perfectly. But if you're looking for, if you have a struggle, which most people do, people really look up to us in that way, and that's what we always come to. And anytime we question, we're no, we see these beautiful messages that are really people who are really struggling, and that this really gives them hope and peace that they can actually be happy and keeping the laws.
I think I'm going to bring that to a close there. That was a wonderful place to end. And thank you so very much.
Thank you.